Yes. That's what I'm talking about, Jeffrey Lurie. That's my owner.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yeah, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day today. So sit back, and we're going to go over a lot of details regarding Nick's little questions, press conference, mini questions that he was asked at the breakfast. We're going to go over Jeffrey Lurie's press conference. A lot of good things to take from it, but I kind of want to start this whole video out on the HaasonReddick situation. Now, Nick Sirianni was asked a question about Bryce Huff, the big signing for the Philadelphia Eagles at $17 million a year. So this is what he said. He says, so much time to be able to say that we have Sweaty, we have BG, we have Nolan, we have Patrick Johnson, we have Bryce, we have Hassan. We'll see. There are many things to play out. We're excited to add him to the roster, knowing how much he can provide help for us to get after the passer, but we'll see how the reps play themselves out. Obviously, with Bryce Huff coming into the season, only throw 43 to 45% of the snaps he played for the Jets last year, double-digit sacks, one of the highest players, top 3 player when it comes to win rate, pressure rate, you name it. Bryce Huff is a beast. But he said HaasonReddick, like he's already here. Now, he technically is here because he's on contract for the rest of this year, okay? Right now, he's not traded. Right now, nothing's going on. So I guess it's okay for Nick to say that because in technical terms, yes, Reddick is still on the roster on a contract from the Philadelphia Eagles. So that was kind of crazy. But Jeffrey Lurie had his press conference. We're going to be going back and forth on a lot of things. Jeffrey Lurie talked about HaasonReddick in general today and said he's, by the way, a terrific player, great person, great background in Philadelphia. It'll play itself out in a very good way. Yes. That gets me so excited. Okay, that's a good thing. If it plays out in a good way, I don't think he's talking about trade. I think the Eagles are doing everything they possibly can to sign HaasonReddick back to this roster. So excited about it. And, God, man, all I'm asking, look, it's not even getting a safety. I don't even care about any of that other stuff. It's well added as great value, luxury players that can come to the Philadelphia Eagles. But when it comes to HaasonReddick coming off of 2 double-digit sack seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles, okay, it's just one of those things where if you're going into a Super Bowl, and I went into this whole thing thinking, and look, nothing's official yet. Just by Jeffrey Lurie saying this, that doesn't mean that things can't change. But this is a really good sign going forward. On top of signing Bryce Huff, you can get HaasonReddick back on a restructured 1-year contract. Give him more guaranteed money up front. I mean, extend him a year. You're going to save a lot of cap space in this move as well. So it's a win-win for the Eagles. And Vic Fangio gets another great player to stay in Philadelphia on top of the other guys they have signed. This defensive line would almost be complete with HaasonReddick coming back. And I really hope they get this deal done soon. The question is, when is it going to happen? I guess we'll find out later down the road. Now, Jeffrey Lurie obviously talked about the dynamic between Nick Sirianni, Kellen Moore, what's going on with that. Now, Lurie speaks on the ongoing success of the Eagles, says always be critical of what we're doing and what we could do better. On the hiring of Kellen Moore, he says with Kellen Moore, we will be more unpredictable and more dynamic. And thank God he said that. That makes me feel a lot better. I don't know, because let me tell you something. Nick Sirianni has really, between these 2 press conferences, because a couple of Nick's questions in this as well have been a little confusing. Because it sounds like Jeffrey Lurie is saying that Kellen Moore is going to have a lot more control. Because to change the dynamic of this offense, it's got to have Kellen Moore just having a little bit more than Nick. Even if Nick is even involved, Nick could just be saying that he's somewhat involved. We'll get into that later. But glad that Jeffrey Lurie said that. And we were predictable last year. We didn't have any... we never dominated any game offensively last year. Bad substitutions, bad situational play calling. This was on top of Nick's game plan. And the last 7 weeks, as much as the whole season has been like a heart attack, the last 7 weeks really showed where we were at. And the coaching was just not there. So that's, that was a big misstep right there. Now, and then he talked about Nick Sirianni as well and saying, he talked about the process of the offseason when it started after that really bad collapse the Eagles had, and said that, Nick Sirianni, there was no question they wanted Nick Sirianni back, okay, as well as us fans thought he was going to get fired. That it was a very straightforward process. Having Nick here was a straightforward process. The decisions being made was very straightforward. There was no friction. There was no anything going on. So that's good. So it seemed like there was really no issue from really when the season ended. I think the front office, so Jeffrey Lurie, I think they just wanted to get a new plan on board, and they want to fire. I think at the cream of the crop up top, I think both the coordinators had to be fired, whether it was Nick's plan or not. Whether Nick is hands on, hands off, I don't know, but it seems like it was a very easy process, non-stressful, and that's a good thing. So he talks about Nick saying he's exhibited a lot of growth at his young age, and he's had a lot of early success in his career. Okay, so he's had the good, mostly good, and very little bad, and that's a good thing with us, looking at Nick. I'm not on board with Nick this year. I'm more likely let's see what happens, the first few weeks of the season for me to see that he's not going to be involved in things, which we'll get into later in this video. Now we go, so that was pretty much all that, there was probably a little bit more, PR questions for Jeffrey Lurie, but HaasonReddick coming back, it sounds like it, very excited, and, Kellen Moore signing, and, Nick Sirianni and how he feels about him going forward. So it seems like it's very comfortable, no friction, stuff like that. So we'll move on. Now, Nick Sirianni had questions asked towards him as well. Now, Nick talked about Paris Campbell. Because we want to know, is Paris Campbell, going to be the legit number 3? Devontae Parker signed. Do they go after another receiver? I feel like they're going to add another weapon. That's just me. So now Nick Sirianni now talks about Paris Campbell, says he's a guy who works extremely hard and wants to be great. He brings an element of speed, and could be a well replacement for, Quez Watkins. I mean, that's what they were looking for. They didn't, there was rumors about Quez coming back. Didn't happen. He signed a 1 year with the Steelers. I think it was time to move on. Paris Campbell needs to stay healthy, and he needs to play better. You know what I mean? So he hasn't played well the last, the 2 years ago he had over 600 yards. So last year with the Giants, I don't know who even produces with the Giants anymore. So I can't put too much into him playing with the Giants too much, but you're getting a lot of speed in that slot. And, I'm hoping a bigger upgrade, reliable hands can be used in pre-snap motion, and I can't wait to see what Kellen Moore does with Campbell. I think Campbell will make the roster regardless. Devontae Parker, we'll see if he can stay healthy and see what he looks like at 31, maybe with a little bit of speed at a big body. We'll see what happens. So wide receiver is going to be an interesting one going to this year. Now, these were some of the other questions that were asked to Nick Sirianni. One was on, why the Eagles brought in Kellen Moore. He said Kellen's going to bring a lot of new elements to the offense. The next question was, what is important of this season coming up? He said building the team chemistry, the culture. It is so important to be the best team in football, and that's a good answer to say. Now, another, how will the offensive line be affected without Jason Kelce? He says that core group will continue to grow. And then asked Nick, who's the next center? Do you have, is there a spot open? Who's going to take over that center spot? He said, no, it's pretty much, I'm not going to name a starting center right now. So because of the draft and because you don't want to say, hey, we're good at center. This way teams will know that, you're not going to go get a center in this draft, okay? So he's not going to say who the starter is. By the time, training camp, a few weeks before the season starts, they'll name their starting center. They'll name some starting positions. The depth chart will come out. So it's smart to not give away what you're good at what position because the draft is coming up. You don't want to put all your cards on the table. So I understand that 100%. Now, Nick talks on his relationship with Jaylen Herz because at the end of last year, I don't know what the hell was going on. Okay, there was a lot of rumors, leaks coming out that there was a big disconnect between Jaylen Herz to Nick and Brian Johnson, and Jaylen Herz had all these ideas to make this offense better, and pretty much Nick Sirianni swept it under the rug, ignored all of it completely. Now, he talks about the relationship with Jaylen Herz. Says all his relationships were tested last year, and it's important that everyone on the team has a good relationship with each other. Teams that do well are teams that are the closest. Okay, so I can agree with that. are coached well, and not even just being close with the players, but, you have to coach well and make adjustments and do things like that. Yeah, relationships were tested. That's an understatement, between AJ Brown, what he was doing, and a lot, AJ Brown brought the team together during the last week against the Giants. You guys remember, like, AJ Brown was trying to tell the whole team. He had multiple meetings with the players that week for the Giants game, the last game of the season, and said, we need to start believing in this coaching staff, please, and there was a lot, there was some little words said here and there. I don't think there was a lot of too much finger pointing at players, at each other. I think it's just frustrating when you lose multiple weeks like that, and when you choke away the first seed, the second seed, you choke away the division. I mean, you choked away everything. You still had a playoff game and still play the way you did. That's how much you can't put too much on the players, but more on the coaching staff. Somebody's got to take the blame. Who's setting these guys up every week to put in a good position to win football games? And it's definitely not this coaching staff. So he almost lost that locker room. There could have been a lot of players going into this offseason like, I want to trade. I want out of here. I don't want to be near Nick Sirianni. But you don't see that, because I think a lot of the players do respect Nick. I don't think they just, just because you don't agree with something that somebody does, it doesn't mean that you can understand somebody. But you could definitely think, you could support somebody, but but you can understand them. You know what I mean? So I get it. If that doesn't sound confusing, but it was really close though. Really close though. Now, Nick talked about Vic Fangio as well. Says, I hired Vic to do a job. I'm excited to add a piece like him that's done it so long. To be honest with Jonathan and Sean, they were first-time-ish coordinators. Jesus. Vic's done it for a very long time. I'll obviously have suggestions on things in situational football that we talk about a lot. I want to talk through with him. He's in charge of the defense now. I'm not shocked over Vic Fangio having more power at all. I'm really not. Nick had nothing to do with hiring these coordinators. I don't think he had anything to do with hiring the assistant coaches. Kellen Moore hired his own coaching staff, his assistant coaches, and Vic Fangio. And Vic Fangio, I think, has a little bit more control, has more full control. I think has full control because of just, this isn't a young coach. This is an experienced DC, okay, that, there's going to be a collaborative effort when it comes to maybe some game planning, just a little tiny bit, maybe situational football in game, talking to Vic Fangio, whether I don't know if Vic Fangio is going to be in the booth. Usually he is in the booth, or he's going to be on the field with Nick. We'll see what happens at the start of the season. But, we're going to find out. I think Fangio's bringing the players he needs, and I think Howie doesn't question it. I think they listen to him. I think he's well respected within the organization, especially bringing him on as a consultant in 22. Okay, remember the press conference, the end of the year press conference they had. Remember, they were 30 minutes late to it because Vic Fangio mutually parted ways with the Miami Dolphins. Now, if you guys remember, Vic Fangio left 2 weeks before the Super Bowl because he thought Gannon was going to stay in Philadelphia. Okay, but obviously that changed. But when Nick says in this statement, they were first-time-ish coordinators, it's kind of like, yeah, Sean Desai only been a defensive coordinator once in 21 under Vic Fangio as defensive quality control guy a few years before that with the Bears. But Matt Patricia, I mean, it was a mess. Jeffrey Lurie even talked about switching defensive coordinators, that this was Nick's switching defensive coordinators, which I don't believe it still, because Howie said this the end of the year press conference. He said, oh yeah, Howie, Nick Sirianni came up to me about, changing defensive coordinators, and he came up to me with the idea, and I listened to him. I don't think that was the case. And Jeffrey Lurie is kind of, and Sirianni saying the same thing here, Howie almost said the same thing as well. So, I mean, it's kind of weird. I think that was one of the biggest faults of the Eagles last year when it came to their defense and changing coordinators. A lot of the players were complaining about it. I know Slay complained about it. I know Reed Blankenship complained about it. I know Sidney Brown complained about the practices leading into games. I mean, it was bad. I mean, it was more than bad. I mean, things need to be done right. The offseason program needs to change. But I'm sorry, but I wouldn't put too much crap on Jonathan Gannon's name as much as we wanted to, because you really saw when Gannon came to Philadelphia last year and just was the most aggressive defense from Gannon I have ever seen. compared to what you had in 22, because Nick had too much say in this defense in 22. 100%, and I still believe that by this day. How does Gannon come to Philadelphia, and we were all thinking, oh, he's going to run his defense. Then we're checking out throughout the year what the Cardinals are doing. Not a great football team, but damn, he blitzes with his linebackers. He does everything what we were supposed to do in 22 with better talent, and we never did it. Okay? So Nick, first-time-ish coordinator comment is kind of stupid. For Sean Desai, it makes sense. He just wasn't qualified. That was just Nick bringing him in, and Sean Desai was close to Vic Fangio when he was in Chicago, but it didn't amount to anything. I think they just hired the closest guy that was to Vic Fangio because they wanted Fangio back, and when Gannon left, it kind of screwed them over to hire somebody else. So Nick got the guy that was closest to Fangio and not even played even close to what Fangio was doing. Sure, it's the same scheme, but he didn't put players in successful positions. The offseason wasn't fantastic. The draft didn't hit on too much, and sorry, but unfortunately, well, they hit on a couple players, but at least free agency wasn't impactful last year for the Philadelphia Eagles. So Nick needs to stop talking sometimes because he's the reason why our season failed last year. His hirings, his control, his ego, I could take, Shane Steichen's playbook. I could take over this offense. Why not? Didn't incorporate any Shane Steichen plays from 22. Nothing. It was the most embarrassing thing I have ever seen. And it makes Chip Kelly look pretty damn bad. I gotta say, it makes the Chip Kelly for those few years, like seriously, because of the play calling and at least be somewhat productive, and they weren't. It makes it almost even at some points, but that's all I'm gonna say about that going forward. So Nick still is talking about incorporating meshing. He says meshing both of our schemes. There's no scheme for Nick Sirianni. The only thing you're going to incorporate to Kellen Moore, okay, is that you're going to tell him to do the push-tush. Other than that, you're not incorporating anything else. At least Jeffrey Lurie said that, he doesn't want to be predictable. So I feel like Kellen Moore is going to bring a diverse offense, and if that's what he thinks, that's good news. I feel like if he's bringing that to Philadelphia, that means he should have most of the control for the offense. I think Nick just says he's going to help with this and help with that because it just doesn't make him look stupid and doesn't make him look like he's not doing anything, because I think Nick should be more of a hands-off type of coach. You know what I mean? So I get it. I get all of that. Now we're going to go into some of the rules, the new rules for the league. Okay, we did the hip drop tackle. That's all done and said. I'm really pissed off about that. That's going to ruin so many games this year. It's going to ruin a playoff game. It's going to ruin a Super Bowl. It's going to be bad. Okay, but first off, okay, now the kickoff now is way different. Now this is from the XFL 4 years ago. Okay, the kickoff is going to look way different, where you're going to have your kickoff team all the way down by the 35. The kicker will be back by the 20, the 20-yard line, the 30-yard line. Okay. You have one wall. It's a one-on-one going across the whole board for the kick return to the kickoff. There's no physicality here. It's barely going to be physical up in the front right here. There's still going to be the same amount of touchbacks. I don't see why not. So I think a lot of teams are just going to kick touchbacks, or because I don't know, the new rule, I think, with some of the touchbacks, I think you're getting the ball at the 30. I think a touchback is to the 30 or the 35. I forgot. I think that changed. I don't know if that's being incorporated this year. But, if a return guy gets past that first wall, I mean, pretty easily, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be a one-on-one between the punter and the kick returner, and that's not going to be good. So you're looking to get that shit in between the 10, or you're looking, I don't know, you're looking to do something. I don't know. You're looking to you're trying to get a touchback every time. I wouldn't even mess with this. I think this is ruining the physicality of football. You're not running down the field trying to knock somebody's head off. It just seems like you're within, you're within 5 yards of each other, and it's just going to be a little bit of a tug of war, and then this could be awful. We don't know what's going to happen, but when a different formation like this, things could change, because hopefully our special teams coordinator is going to, got to get this thing right, because it's not going to be good. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just, it looks so stupid. I can't even describe what I'm even trying to explain right now with this kickoff BS that's going on. And, so there's still going to be touchbacks. It's just the physicality of it is gone. And if you're weak on, you got to make sure, like, that's going to be crazy, because you have such short field. Because if they get that ball and you don't have the right guys on special teams, you don't have a nice special teams coach who knows how to put the right guys in there, and if they're on their stuff, they get past that first wall, you're going to have a one-on-one between the kick returner and the punter, and that's not going to be good. So it wouldn't shock me if a lot of teams score on this, but I would see a lot of touchbacks happening as well. I don't think it's going to would you rather take the 30 yards, or would you try to, we'll see. But I honestly didn't like that at all. Moving forward, and we'll see what happens. Now, there is a new rule for quarterbacks. Now, I think, probably the 49ers came up with this a couple years ago and probably didn't pass until this year, just because, you know what? You want to have not only two quarterbacks, active on game day, but, the NFL is allowing one practice squad quarterback to be elevated every single week, an unlimited amount of time. So you could bring up a third quarterback up to the active roster for game day every week. So there's no excuse that you're running out of quarterbacks, so you can get 3 quarterbacks dressed. This is really important for the Eagles, because I want to see the type of looks that Tanner McKee is going to give this team in his second year with the Eagles. And obviously Kenny Pickett, we traded for him, and I want to see what he does. Hopefully some good looks, gain that. These guys are never going to play on game day, but I'm saying for preseason. But bringing up, I wonder who the third quarterback that's going to be brought up. I wonder who it's going to be. Probably between Tanner McKee and that, Grief, or whatever his name is, that Kellen Moore brought in. That is, play with him with the Cowboys, and was just knows Kellen Moore's scheme. So I thought that rule was pretty interesting. And lastly, we're going to go over the Brazil game. So between the Browns, it's either going to be the Browns or the Green Bay Packers facing Philadelphia in Brazil. Now, this game will be streaming on Peacock Friday night, first week of the season. So it counts as a home game. I hope everybody knows that. So this actually counts as one of our home games. So that's where we're headed. So there's still a to be determined when it comes to who we're facing. I think it's between both of those teams, the Browns, Packers, like I said. But that's it. Peacock, gotta get it. I'm starting to hate this shit too, because you gotta watch this on that, it's only for one day. Unfortunately, I think you gotta pay the $6 to watch one game. Watch the only game for the night. It's on a Friday night, so not too bad. First week of the season, Friday night, not bad at all. So there'll be a lot going on. So that's already set up. Peacock, not on national television, obviously, not an NFL channel or anything like that. It's going to be streaming right on Peacock, ready to go. And that's pretty much it. So a lot on Jeffrey Lurie, a lot on Nick Sirianni, and some of the things he said in this press conference. Sorry, I was jumping back and forth, confusing on certain things. Just let me know. But Lurie kind of gave us some straight answers here, almost. That sound pretty optimistic going forward. Howie talked about Reddick yesterday and pretty much said, 2 days ago, whenever you're watching this video, said, I don't talk about contract situations. It's going to handle itself. But that could go good, that can go bad. But when Jeffrey Lurie says it's going to handle itself in a good way, that's good for us. So at least we know that at least it's been very quiet with the Reddick situation. So it's very quiet right now. So the main question is, when is this going to happen? That's really it. But other than that, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Eagles news every single day, with a huge update here, which I think this was definitely, I just love hearing from the owner, love hearing from the coaches. It's nice just to, get the, instead of just hearing rumors and rumors and rumors, we're actually hearing this, and it's great. So I feel good about the coaching staff. I feel good about the players that they've signed so far, and I'm ready for the draft. And, we're waiting on HaasonReddick. We're waiting on other moves. Remember, Howie Roseman said he's not done building this roster yet. So I think more moves are coming. Howie's not giving up yet. you know, but you want to get that cap space for HaasonReddick, no doubt. You want to get that cap space, cap that 11+ million back, regardless. So, all right, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes what up, Falls Live. Peace out, guys. Peace.